We're back. Here we go. So how MAT can affect your set threshold? Well, to start off with, why is MAT different than physical therapy too? Because it's like, okay, we can go to physical therapy and there's plenty of physical therapists out there, but this is something different. What I really found out, I was practicing for 15 years as a physical therapist, and I felt like people would come in and I was almost like throwing a dart to see if they're gonna get better. And almost every PT was given the same exercises. Let's do straight leg raises, let's do the clams. It's like, you know what? Honestly, a lot of those could be given out in the doctor's offices. And maybe they might change your form a little bit. I might have a better eye than maybe the doctor does in the office, but there's a lot of the same things. And I felt like it was a 50-50, people were getting better. And so when I came across this, and how I was in Chicago at a fitness conference, and there was the guy who invented this, Greg Raskoff, he was there and he's like, okay, come over here and I want to show you something. He had tables, it was the exhibit hall. He wanted to go get the 60% off leggings, right, in the back. He made us stop, and my friend had an ACL done and she couldn't straighten her knee by about 3-4 degrees. It had been 20 years. And the doctor had said, well, we need to do surgery as far as just do a scope and we'll get the scar tissue out of there. Well, the thing is that she's like, I'm not gonna have another surgery. So she didn't. It's 20 years later, we're there. He says, well, let me take a look at it. It took him 5 minutes and he got full extension. So from just then, I'm like, wow. Okay, so we changed and we decided to hear what he had to say. Then from then on, I became a practitioner, and it has changed my practice so much. And it's so fun because initially when people come in, what's fun is you guys were talking about hope, is they leave that first appointment and there's already a difference. After Dr. Hansen sees them and they have gotten their stem cells, they'll say to him, do I really need to see her tomorrow? I hurt so bad I don't want to go in. He goes, no, you want to go in. They come in, and I've had them come in wheelchairs and walk out. I've had them come with crutches and walk out that day. And I'm not saying they're healed. I don't mean that, but it's just that their muscles are working now so they can tolerate the forces and be able to handle that. So now we'll jump in. That's just a little bit about that. But when we talked earlier about the threshold and how it's different with every person, with all the different practitioners that are working together, it is going to hopefully improve that healthy physiological operating window. So that's going to open that up. And so instead of just being able to get in out of bed and get you in a wheelchair, you're going to be able to do more and more things based on all of us that are coming in together trying to help improve your body's tolerance to things. But the big thing of, like, when we were talking earlier of type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers, the type 1, they're the first ones to get turned off because as type 1 muscles, they're your endurance muscles. They're the ones like when someone's running a marathon versus like the ones type 2 are if you're gonna do a sprint, the 40-yard dash. And those are the big bulky muscles that their strength and hypertrophy. These are the ones that get shut off right away because they need oxygen. And so when we talk about how you guys go through oxidative stress and all these reasons, they're the ones that get shut off. So with MAT, I can specifically test which ones are those muscles for you, get those stabilizers on, and then we move forward to getting some of the other muscles on as well. And also that those endurance muscles will start to build up because, again, they're the ones that are shut off, and to keep going throughout the day, we need to build in that endurance. So you might start off with doing 10 reps, or we do a lot of isometrics, is basically where we start off with, because that's all we can tolerate. But I honestly keep those going forever. I have people always do some isometrics, and that's a good warm-up. You'll see in a lot of even sports and everything now they're not doing stretching, because stretching is shown to decrease your strength and power by about 30%. And so getting these muscles on, people will say, oh, but I don't feel tight anymore. And we thought we had to stretch to get rid of that tightness. But instead, if you get your muscles on, you'll feel more stable, you'll have this release and let go, and it makes a huge, significant difference. And so as we're talking about all the different things like diet and getting people in alignment, like I love sending people to the chiropractor first because they're gonna put them in alignment, and then they work with me, and I'll get those muscles on, and they'll be stabilizing, and they'll feel looser and be able to move and more efficient. Carrie's working with their diet, whoever's working with their nutrition, and then we get Dr. Hansen stuff working, and what happens is that whole tolerance level in there that I talked about, the physiological range they can work in, Now you've got a bigger Dixie cup, or bigger cup. You got the solo cup versus a Dixie cup. Because initially, when I see people that come in with fluoroquinolone toxicity, they can't do much of anything. Sometimes they're coming in wheelchairs. And like we saw pictures of you coming in a wheelchair. Our whole thing is how can we get that cup bigger so you can tolerate more and you don't get shut off. Because initially, everything shuts you off. I mean, even loud noises, whatever it is too much. So that's my goal, and that's all of our goals, kind of to increase that.
Red, so
Yeah, red. And we all like it for different reasons, don't we? It takes us back. Yeah. So what I love then in the MAT, we'll test each one specifically, and then to get their contractibility back, so they can actually contract and handle any of the loads, walking, standing. Just I was talking to someone about how we got this pilot back, and when he first came to me, he was out of a wheelchair, but he showed me pictures about how maybe 6 months before that, he had seen Dr. Hansen, but he was on the floor. He was either on the floor or in a wheelchair. So then he came to me, and he couldn't handle any more walking than 5 minutes, was at the most. And so it took us a couple years, but now he's actually in a workout program. He's getting back to, he's gonna be flying soon again. And it's so exciting to watch that and help build up his body so he can tolerate those things. So they're the type 1 muscles we'll talk about too. They're the first to shut down with pain and inflammation. They are predominantly are stabilizers, and they can control those shear forces. They also control the stiffness in between the segmental segments. And when people come in, we look at their posture. That's one of the first things we do, because that's static posture, and a lot of those local stabilizers are what's needed for good posture. And if you don't have good posture and you're forward like this, Dennis will be the first one to tell you, this weighs 9 to 12 pounds, this head, and if that's forward, everything that has to grab on, so how much more energy is taken. So if you're here, you're standing down here, and you've got weights, like I even put 2-pound weights in my patient's hand, and I go, I'll see it, what if I said I'll see in a half hour? And they're like, no problem. Well, if you put your arms out here, and you have 2 pounds in your hands, this moment arm is big, and plus you got a longer lever arm, but still, just this moment arm. And those 2 pounds in each hand, there's no way in a half hour they would still have that. They cheat. And so, same thing with their head though, and that's 9 to 12 pounds. So that's a lot of extra energy, and what we're talking about is trying to save you guys as much energy as we can. So getting those stabilizers on and getting your posture makes a big difference. And then our global muscles, will eventually get those on in time, but that's what generally people want to, or think about. They want to go back to the gym right away, and instead it's getting these local stabilizers, by using the isometrics that we can get those on. So a big one, we were talking about neck, and in the neck, something as simple as someone raising their head is so hard. What I like to do is they'll be laying on the floor, and those squishy balls that you just loved you put in, is because it used to be where I'd have them put their head over like the bed and maybe lift up. Well, that could be just even too much for their neck to lift up. But you put one of those stability balls here, and they just roll like this, roll a marble and hold it for 6 seconds. Then I have them pull down, and they have to pull here, so it's the deep flexor muscles that are getting on versus the sternocleidomastoid and these other big ones that we've heard of, scalenes. Most people have heard of those. But that way we get some of the deep ones in the back too that can extend, and the ones in the front. So we're talking like your rectus spinae muscles, your that's erector spinae. What am I saying? Just the cranial, the 6 of those small ones.
Rectus capitis posterior.
Oh yeah, but don't specifically say. What are they in the group?
Oh.
Why is that gone?
I had it a second.
The short, they're all really short ones. There's like 6 of them, and there's rectus capitis posterior, or a major and minor, and the oblique capitis posterior, major, minor. Those ones are the ones that are, again, tiny, that just those isometrics are going to stabilize and help bring some of those muscles back. And then those big global ones that are taking over, that's why we feel tight. So they're going to release and let go. Cranial, what are they? You guys, it's going to kill me. All those ones at the occiput.
You'll think of it in like 10 minutes.
Yep.
Step up.
Okay. So like we said, the thing that I love about the muscle activation techniques is it works with the brain, right? Which we know all muscles do too. I mean, it's like, that's nothing new. But to think of it this way is the only way that a muscle knows to contract is by, it comes out, like I'm gonna pick this up, I think about it and it comes in here. And then my brain decides, my central nervous system, which is your brain and your spinal cord, comes back and it tells it to lift it up. Well, sometimes we pick up a box and we think it's heavy, right? And we pick it up, it's really light. So we're already pre-thinking of what we need to contract, and our body does it, we don't have to think about it. Like if I'm gonna go up the steps, I don't need to think, gosh, I need to bend my knee 90 degrees and my hip, whatever. It's automatic, unless we have issues. Then it's like, I'm sure when you guys are starting to get back to walking, you're thinking about, how do I get up in here, and you're nervous and concerned. Well, we start at that level, and then eventually as we get these muscles going, segmentally and then multi-segmentally, then again it becomes where it's automatic. And that's what we want. We want muscles and things to be working automatically without us having to think about it. Okay? There we go. Thank you. Any questions?
So can you tell me again what you were saying about stretching before working out?
Oh,
What does
yes.
what does that do?
Okay,
Okay,
so
make your-
stretching,
make
I'm gonna
your-
do an example.
Yep, make her an example.
Yeah, come on up. That stretching before any activity is not a good idea, and it decreases your power by up to 30%. But unless you feel it, you really don't believe it, because we grew up on stretching, and as far as physical therapy, it was one of my pillars. I don't have anybody stretch anymore. So go ahead and lie down on your back. And common one is, let's say, hamstrings, okay? So bend this knee and rotate out, and I'm gonna test your lateral hamstring here. Don't let me pull up. Okay, there you go. This is okay, and hold. Now you got it right there, you got it. Okay, now come up and just stretch your hamstring. Like you normally, or you can lay down. Yeah, just right there and stretch it. And usually, you know, we always tell physical therapists 30 seconds 3 times. So we'll just let her 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She did it for about 20 seconds maybe. Go ahead and bend, rotate out again. So, like, yep, there we go. Now don't let me pull.
Oh, wow.
So stretching, you know, really inhibits. Isn't that crazy? Oh, let me turn it back
How
on.
long does it last?
I will turn it back on. It up to 90 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so then your whole game of soccer. So I used to educate, because I worked for the soccer team. I'm like, just be excited. Look over there and watch those guys stretch. It's
Stretch
mental.
after.
You can stretch after if you want, but you know what? Instead, I don't ever stretch. I do isometrics. So I get that central nervous system, a connection, because mobility without stability is not good. You know what that feels like.
So what do you do as a runner, like before you run?
So you do active, so you can start doing like a squat, standing squat. You can, I'll show you a few things. Go ahead here. And don't let me pull.
Exactly.
And that's MAT. So we use, yeah.
Interesting.
Wow. It saves me half an hour off of every run now that I don't
Wow.
stretch. It's amazing, and I'm
Yeah.
not in pain.
And so, like, I'll do dynamic things, like, well, maybe march before I run, I'll go sideways, get down like this, and get my muscles on, and get connected. Because actually stretching disconnects, and it just wipes it out, which you felt, it's a more than 30%. I mean, I think that's, right? And so,
So yoga?
so when I tell people yoga, is people are in love with yoga. I like Pilates more. I feel like it gets more of the core, and it does more of the mind-body. Both of them are mind-body connection, but it gets more of the core and works from here. So I love that, because it's but yoga. The one thing that I tell people, if you're going to do it, because so many people love it, is that don't go for the stretch. So if you're going to do that warrior pose, you're thinking, how can I open up more? And you're using your muscles to get there rather than open up and try and stretch and do this. I'm thinking, I want my scapulas to, I'll do medical, retract. I want my scapulas to go back, or your wings to squeeze together in the back. And I'm thinking of that rather than the stretch. Because what I find, and I've done testing, that's what I love about MAT, I can test people before and after. And I test them, and some people it shuts off, and some people it doesn't. And so again, the more sensitive you are, you're gonna shut off easier. I'll have some other people, like younger people in general, and they maybe can tolerate more, and they're not gonna shut off. So that's what I just tell people, is make sure no stretching before, and
What about like myofascial release, just getting like the tissue released?
Again, I test on people. So I've had people do that, and some have shut off, and a few haven't. So I mean, cranial sacral is one that I tend to like more. It's a little bit more gentle, and even, well, Well,
light touching.
And light touching and that kind of stuff. So I am for that. People say, gosh, massage, I love the deep tissue. Actually, the deep tissue, well, it hurts, and guess what? When something hurts, what happens? It shuts muscles off. Pain, inflammation, shuts things off.
That makes sense.
So the deep tissue, they go, oh, I feel so good. But then later they tighten up and they go, oh, I was tight again. Well, yeah, because guess what? Your body felt unstable, you loosen things up, and it's like open up a can of worms and then tighten up to protect. And it's hard to, I'd love to do someone else up here, test someone else, just so they can feel it. Who else is gonna come up here? Come on. Yeah, come on up. He's gotta feel it. Because it really is interesting. It's one thing to see it, but it's another thing to feel it.
It's like hypnosis, it's like, you can't make me do that.
Yeah, right, and that's it, and you want, oh, and us in class, we do that. Okay, so,
And you try really hard not to.
let's do, should we do hamstrings again? Or is there a certain body part that feels tight?
Right here.
Right into your glute, okay? Yep. So go ahead and lie in your stomach. I'm gonna test your glute. Ooh, and this is pain, by the way. This is pain. Okay. Okay. The glute extends the hip. That's a big thing. So go ahead and lift up. There we go. Don't let me push down. We're gonna test those glutes. Okay, they're on. That you feel that? Hold. You guys can see that I'm working actually to push him down. He's doing good. There aren't many glutes out there like that. Good job. Stand up. Help on your knees.
I think that's
And
the next
then-
way of saying you have nice ass.
So
Like
now,
Captain America.
I'm gonna have some go like that. We're gonna stretch that glute.
I can edit that.
The right across your left, because I was just testing your left, and then you're gonna slide back
You're
like
okay,
this.
Dr. Dennis.
And stretch up. There you go. Yep.
You made that look easy.
Yep. You can breathe. You can do all of it. Oh my God. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and come on out of it. Okay. Same position, lie in your stomach. Go ahead and lift this up, and don't let me push it down. Not even.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've been doing it for years, and it was my pillar. I gave, you know how many patients I gave stretching to? Every single one for 15 years. Okay, so then this is how, then we'll get it back on. So right there, I was testing his sacral fibers. We'll test each, division, separate it all out. And what was your question?
I was just wondering what you're doing right there.
Yeah, so this is a palpation technique. And so you're going to, I'm going to his muscle spindles, and that's what talks to the central nervous system. And it's by the gamma system, and then, so we'll talk, it communicates with the central nervous system and gets it back on.
How long will it stay on afterwards?
And so that's a great question. Okay, if someone is, go ahead and lift up and don't let me push down. Okay, there we go. So again, what Carrie put up there, age and all that kind of, those things, it all makes a difference. How long has it been going on? If you're older, it's a little harder to come back. If someone, honestly, I've seen a patient come in with crutches that's 15. He's been in a boot for 6 weeks. The doctor goes, gosh, you're gonna need another. So he came in to see me. I worked at him one time. He walked out and I said, I'll see you on Monday. His mom sent me a text going, guess what? I couldn't stop from playing basketball. He played yesterday. He felt great. He's 15. Okay, so someone who's older, it takes a longer and repetition. And again, what I tell people too is we are mechanical, so we are gonna break down. So the thing is when I get people on and then I do a maintenance, I might see them once a month, and then I see them once every 2 months, and then I try and see people 4 times a year to keep their muscular system on and firing. Okay, so there you go. Thank you.